This man had to wrestle a 19-foot-long snake while this one made a run for it. You have a fear of snakes? Well, that makes two of us. But while people like us only see snakes on TV and pray to never meet them in real life, some people have been unfortunate enough to have personal experiences with them. If you're scared of snakes, turn on the lights and watch from a distance these 15 dangerous snake attacks caught on camera. Number 15. Unwelcoming hello. Everyone expects a hello or two when they visit their friends and family, but sometimes some hellos are so unwelcoming. It was all captured by a doorbell camera that shows this man named Gerald Haywood coming out of his car towards this house in Lawton, Oklahoma. He was there to visit his friend Copeland, and obviously, Haywood isn't a stranger to the home. While Haywood has always been welcomed with open arms, it was different on this day. As Haywood approached the front door, a 5-foot-long snake sprang from the bottom left corner of the video and struck Haywood in the face. As soon as Haywood called out to Copeland to get him to the hospital, a neighbor removed the snake from the porch light and killed it. Fortunately, Haywood was attacked by a bull snake, which is not venomous. He was well cleaned up at the hospital and given antibiotics for his wound. The strangest thing is that Copeland had never seen a snake in his house before that incident, and so he guessed it only came there for shelter due to the heavy rain at the period. One piece of advice: don't get too familiar with every door. You may not be properly welcomed. Number 14. A bad company. Seems this guy just decided to enjoy himself all alone, fishing in a swamp, and truthfully he was having a great time. I mean, look at him, filming himself. He even caught a fish and hoped to catch more, I guess. But amidst his lone time on the fishing boat, a sea snake decided to pay him a surprise visit and probably keep him company. As soon as this guy spotted the snake, he freaked out immediately. I mean, who wouldn't? He immediately thought of survival because he was in the middle of the swamp. He used his fishing rod to hit the snake about 2 times, and to make things worse, this snake ended up in his boat, just like a weapon fashioned against him. The poor guy didn't know if he was to jump into the water or stay on the boat for a while. But it seems this snake was not even there to snack on him. Maybe the snake was also lonely and needed company because it just went back into the water after the whole scuffle. If the snake did come to be a company, that was indeed a bad company. Number 13. A lengthy tussle. This one is about a man and a snake in a tussle. But don't get it wrong, the tussle isn't what is lengthy, but the snake. This is a 19-foot Burmese python trying to take down at most a 6-foot man named Jake Walleri. This incident was captured in Florida, and if you know anything about that place, you know they have serious issues with Burmese pythons, an extremely invasive species with no natural predators. And honestly, since the 90s when the creatures were first exposed in the state, the species multiplied and posed a threat to the natural wildlife. So tons of python hunters have made it a priority to try and eliminate as much of the species as they possibly can. That said, one group of snake hunters set out to wrangle up some monster reptiles back on July 10th, 2023, but what they found was more than they had expected or prepared for. It was a massive 19-foot-long Burmese python lurking around the roadside of South Florida's Big Cypress National Preserve. As the python sighted the men as threats, it attempted to bite Walleri, who was the one getting too close to it.
Holy shit. Losing it, Jake. Oh, shit.
It was a long tussle between the two, as Walleri tried to wrangle the snake, and the snake strived to attack and overpower him. In the end, Walleri won the fight, and the python was eventually killed as per recommendations by wildlife officials. The photos of this python show that it was so long that it could drape across 4 adults with room to spare, shattering the state record for the longest python ever bagged in the state. And not only the state record, it broke the Burmese python world record as well. Let's forget about the records and just give accolades to Walleri for that brave move. That was brave. Number 12. An unwanted roommate. What wakes you in the middle of the night? A full bladder, maybe. But in the case of 75-year-old Kau Sudsfa, she was woken by a snake bite on March 1, 2019. It would have been a mouth-to-mouth story, but we can see how it all happened clearly courtesy of CCTV installed by Kau's son to monitor his mother. This terrifying footage shows Kau fast asleep in her bed when a deadly serpent slithers into her bedroom across the tiles with its eyes glowing in the dark as it sizes up its victim. As Kau's leg drops off the bed, the snake is seen preparing to strike. It then lashes out and sinks its fangs into the old lady's foot, Kao recoils with fright, but amazingly, she calmly reaches out for a torch that she shines on the biggest nightmarish scene she'd ever seen. She then hobbles out of the room and wakes her son, Nakorn, who was sleeping next door at the home in Bangkok, Thailand. Nakorn did his best to chase it out of the room while they called on the rescue workers. By the time they arrived, they found it curled up on the toilet seat in the bathroom. They then dragged it outside into the garden where it was bagged up and taken to a holding center where captured snakes are logged before being returned into the wild. Something tells me this snake was a former resident of the house because its attitude shows a complete ownership mentality. Number 11. Snake charmer fail. You see, this next video will leave you with many questions, and one of them is, why risk your life to entertain some people? How exactly did he get himself in this situation, right? The simple answer, he's a snake charmer. Snake charmers are skilled people who claim they have control of snakes and entertain people by doing all sorts of displays with them, just like 35-year-old Yudapong Chaiburi. On the day of this incident, the video shows Yudapong doing his job like he always does, and everyone is amazed at how well he was in control of the snake. But was he really in control? Or maybe he chose the wrong type of snake. This particular one he was charming is a king cobra, and if you know anything about this species, they are not that friendly and they are venomous. It seems Yudapong's charm on the snake expired this minute as the king cobra followed its mind to bite his hand. Yudapong immediately threw the snake on the floor as he slowly passed out. His colleagues wasted no time as they rushed him to the hospital. Fortunately, they were not too late. He was given a combination of antibodies, but Yudapong soon stopped breathing and was put on life support. He didn't die, but he spent 3 nights unconscious, after which he was discharged. After 10 days, he still displayed burn-like wounds on his body, including his left bicep and forearm, inside his lips and thighs, all of which were from the cobra's venom. Listen, even if you want to play with snakes, do not choose the king cobra. It is classified as the world's longest venomous snake, native to Asian regions, ranging from India to Southeast Asia. Its venom is considered lethal enough to kill an elephant in a matter of minutes. When Yudapong was interviewed, he described the snake as a monster cobra and said the venom made him suffocate. He also said he was grateful to the doctors but would never blame the snake as it is its instinct to bite. Well, we also do not blame the snake but your profession that chose to be too dangerous. Number 10. A bad kisser. We really need to ask what was going on in this lady's mind, because how did you end up kissing a snake? This is just one of those stories you would never believe if it was not caught on camera. This Chinese tourist, 29-year-old Jin Jing, went to a Thai company that runs snake shows and saw 2 men holding a python. Others were admiring the python as well, but she was the most daring of all. She thought admiring this snake from afar was not enough as she moved closer to kiss it. But unfortunately, the kids didn't go as she expected. The python launches forward and grabs onto her nose, holding it firmly like its life depends on it. Seems the snake fell deeper in love with the woman, or maybe it was just a bad kisser. It took a while before the men could help pry it away. Although the snake isn't venomous, it injured her nose so badly that she was rushed to Phuket Hospital. There she got stitches on her nose and shared pictures of her nose later on the internet. The Thai company later paid the woman $3,200 in damages, which also covered her medical bills. While many argue that the company keeps its animals in poor conditions, leading them to attack strangers, we think this woman should have thought that snakes are snakes no matter what. What do you think? Number 9. Good morning, bad morning. Humans love to keep pets around, and for real, there are so many animals that can be good company, like cats, dogs, snakes. You may just want to change your mind after watching this video, because this woman right here definitely wants to rethink her decisions right now. In a video going viral on the internet, this woman is seen in a room with an aquarium-like glass cage inside, which a huge python could be seen. Seems like the normal morning routine between this woman and her pet, as she's seen removing the lid of the cage while the snake is hissing at her. She can be seen smiling at the reptile as it slowly comes out of its cage, staring at the woman who was still probably saying her good morning to her pet. But little did she know that the python was having a bad morning. It probably woke up on the bad side of its bed. Within a few seconds, the snake bites her hand and tries to completely wrap itself around the woman's shoulder. She struggles to get the snake off her and tries to put it back in the cage, but to no avail. She is seen in visible pain as she is bleeding profusely. Another man jumps to the rescue to help her, but the giant reptile continues to hug the woman's hand. The man tries to push the snake towards himself and also gets a snake hook to remove the reptile. By this time, the woman has lost a lot of blood. You must have questions about this video, like what happened to the woman, where did it happen, and so on. While we have no answer to these questions, we do have a question of our own. How was the person holding the camera able to keep recording in this situation? Any ideas? Number 8, wrong timing. This next video must be one of the most chaotic and heart-stopping videos you have ever seen. A home CCTV in central Queensland shows a mother and her 2 little girls outside doing laundry. The girls had their backpacks on while the mother was getting ready for action. The snake was already there before they got out of the house, but they were not quick to spot it, as they were not expecting this terrifying visitor in their home. Soon, the mother saw the snake head straight towards the little girls. The mother got herself to safety but couldn't leave her girls behind. It was a venomous eastern brown snake that could kill if it bit anyone. The youngest daughter jumped out of the way to hide behind the mother. At the same time, the snake was moving towards the older sister. Her terrified older sister was backed into a corner and began lifting her feet to avoid the snake. Their hero mom sprung into action and threw down a clothesline to scare the snake away. Her petrified daughter then ran out across the porch and stepped right over the wriggling snake. In one heart-stopping moment, the mother grabbed her daughter by the backpack and wrenched her away from the venomous reptile. The youngest daughter then ran over to her mom as the snake slithered into the opposite corner. You could see the fear in the faces of the girls and their mothers. It was a terrible moment that they would have prayed never to experience again. However, nothing is as surprising as the end of the clip, which shows the father of the house running out of the house seconds after his family got to safety. The direction he went makes it unclear if he was running to safety himself or after the snake. You may not be too surprised about this incident if you know how many people who live in Australia have encounters with snakes. This particular snake is one of the most venomous snakes in Australia and is widely regarded as highly aggressive. It is the leading cause of snakebite deaths in Australia and thrives in urban habitats. In all, we are happy that the girls and their mother are safe. Number 7, looking for Wi-Fi. This one definitely sounds like an introduction to a lame joke, but for real, it isn't. Here it goes. A snake entered an internet cafe in Thailand, and what happened next is even scarier. Still sounds like a fake story? Watch this. Now you see, a snake was definitely looking for Wi-Fi at this Thailand cafe. Yeah, we know cafes are probably where you don't expect to find a snake, but you see these slithering, sneaky creatures, they do not have places they can't visit, be it internet cafes or even toilets. Let's not talk about toilets. That's one of their favorite spots. And the craziest part is they clearly do not care whether the establishments they stalk and terrify are serpent-friendly. You can imagine where this one was hanging. The CCTV camera of this cafe shows a customer trying to get out of the cafe when a snake launches at him and tries its best to bite him, but it is no match for this human dropkick. As soon as this man raised an alarm and tried to run for his life, the others also ran away without even looking at what was terrifying them. Not only was this rat snake in question an obvious trespasser, but it went and behaved rudely about the entire situation by flinging its body through the doorway instead of quietly slithering in like a normal limbless reptile. Although snakes like these are usually non-venomous when it comes flying at you like this, does it really matter? We honestly can't imagine how we would have responded in a situation like this, but you see how everyone in the room jumped, kicked, and ran seems to be the perfect reaction. Absolutely no one could argue that running, screaming, kicking, and accidentally tripping over your own feet aren't the most appropriate reactions to a scaly intruder interrupting the paid time you're devoting to your daily Google searches. What would you have done though? Number 6, no time for jokes. This particular man in this video is probably someone moving around with a death wish, and here's why. This man is holding a snake in this video posted by Reptile Hunter while he is seen playing with it. It is not clear where he got the snake and why he decided to joke around with it. He even dared to film himself while playing with a snake, probably to boast to his friends or maybe to get traffic on his page. Whatever the reason may be, can everyone just leave snakes alone? He doesn't even seem like a snake charmer or a snake catcher. He is just someone who loves to play around. Back to the video, he is seen holding the snake near his face and blowing air at the reptile several times. Every time he does that, the snake becomes aggressive and tries to lunge at him. The irritated reptile tries to bite the man many times, but he manages to withdraw himself and keep the snake at arm's length. Towards the end of the video, the man puts the snake on his head and mocks the reptile like saying, "The next moment, he appears distracted as he looks sideways, and that is when the snake responds by putting its fangs on the man's forehead like, "I'ma rip your forehead off." Shocked, the man tries to pull out the snake, but it clings onto his head until he falls off the camera's view. We don't know what became of this man. Someone, please ask Reptile Hunter. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. Snakes are of different types, but regardless of the type, one needs to be extra careful around them. It doesn't matter who you are, whether a snake expert, an amateur, or even someone with a fear of snakes. When a snake snake attacks, you get terrified. Take a look at this picture and see the look on this man's face. He would have thought of the day as his last day on Earth, considering the distance between him and the snake right behind him in the middle of water. Imagine you are being chased by a snake in a situation like this. What would you do? And if you think this only happens in movies, you should see the next video for an attack just like this caught on camera. Number 5. A dangerous comeback. A few years ago, local farmland was being disturbed by a Burmese python. By now, you should have known how big they can get considering how we've discussed the species earlier. It's a very big one and has terrified the whole village. For the fear of their lives, the locals called on a bunch of snake experts to help them get rid of the unwanted visitor. But by the time they got there, the snake had left the exact spot. The snake experts won't give up the search, and soon they eventually found the snake's new location. In the fear of losing the snake again, the experts sprang into action without tools or equipment with them as soon as they were called. They just headed straight to where the giant reptile was having its lone time. Guess where? Right on the branch of a big tree. Maybe a regular person like me would have just turned back considering the size and the location of the snake. But while other experts were still thinking of what to do, this brave man sprang into action and climbed the tree. He tried to get the snake off the branch, but it just didn't go as planned. Somehow, this man's hand slipped off the branch and he found himself in the water below with the Burmese python. It is not clear if the python accidentally fell as well, or if it went after its snack. All we know is it immediately turned and tried to wrap itself around the man to squeeze life out of him. It was definitely a terrifying moment that the man will never forget for the rest of his life. Fortunately, they were able to capture the snake and no one got hurt. A quick one though, don't ever try this, whoever and wherever you are. Number 4, déjà vu. Remember Steve Irwin? The man who loved wildlife all of his life. Yep, his son Robert Irwin took after him and does content on wildlife as well. So on this day he was out as usual to document his time with different animals, educating his viewers about a carpet python to be precise. Suddenly the python attacks him in the video in a very swift move, and before you know it, he is already dripping in blood. Robert was not scared or sad about it. He was even happy that he got bitten by a carpet python, as he took to Twitter to caption the post of his picture beside his father. Deja vu, Dad and me getting bitten by the same species of snake, carpet python, decades apart. Now this deja vu doesn't mean that he had been bitten by a python in his past life, but he was referring to his father, Steve Irwin, who was also bitten by a carpet python in his lifetime. If you think Robert is daring, you definitely didn't know about Steve. He was well known in the late 90s when he rose to fame as the popular host of TV's The Crocodile Hunter. With his unbridled passion for animals and daunting encounters with dangerous creatures, he became synonymous with the show that bore his enduring nickname. While many feared for Steve's safety, he seemed to find a way to get himself out of any sticky situation. But on September 4, 2006, Steve Irwin died suddenly after he was attacked by a stingray while filming in the Great Barrier Reef, filming a series of the ocean Deadliest. The stingray is not known to be an aggressive animal, so it's still not clear why it chose to harm Steve. It was expected to swim away as Steve moved closer to get a close shot, but instead of swimming away, the stingray propped on its front and began stabbing Steve with its barb, striking him multiple times in the chest. Although his crewmates tried to get him to the hospital, he succumbed to his injuries and died tragically. This just shows how animals can never be predicted. Number 3. Mama Python's fury. In case you didn't know, mothers are always protective of their young ones. It doesn't even matter if it's a mama python. This California zookeeper, Jay Brewer, was trying to get eggs from this big mother python. The massive yellow serpent coiled around her pile of eggs calmly as she gave the look of, "I dare you to touch my babies," at Brewer, who was trying to move her head away with a metal clutch. The eggs were to be collected and taken to the incubator where they would hatch, but perhaps Brewer was not speaking the python's language. As he reaches in to grab the large white eggs, which were stuck together, the python suddenly whips around and bites him in the face. It was a strong bite that left his face dripping in blood. That's one very dangerous move, if you ask me. While the reticulated python does not have venom, the species is one of the world's largest snakes and can eat humans, cats, dogs, birds, rats, and other snakes. So why should anyone get this close to this animal? Number 2. Selfie time. This wildlife officer, Sanjay Dutta, was called in by frantic villagers in West Bengal after they saw a 40-kilogram python swallowing a goat alive. Well, Sanjay did his work perfectly and held the snake well, but instead of placing it safely inside a bag, he wrapped it around his neck and posed for pictures with stunned villagers. As he was about to take the selfie, he lost focus, and the serpent seized the chance to wound itself around his neck, forcing him to struggle to free himself from its vice-like grip. With the help of others around, he escaped unscathed, but a little red-faced. The snake is known as the Indian rock python. Though non-venomous, it can quickly kill its prey by constricting blood flow and can grow up to 10 meters long. I think Sanjay should know better now that a selfie and having a snake on your neck don't mix. Number 1. Hide and seek. Once an avid outdoorsman and YouTuber named Johnson was out looking for reptiles in Baltimore County, he found more than he was looking for. He filmed himself while he was walking through the woods, saying he needed real action.
I'm gonna leave the camera on now the whole time. Just use up my batteries. That way I don't miss any footage.
Not as if he had not found any reptile, but he wasn't satisfied. He said all he found was a garter snake and mentioned looking for more serious reptiles. To him, it was as if the snakes were hiding from him, or were they? Well, he didn't look too far when a copperhead snake found him. As Johnson walked the trail in his video, all we heard was a sudden yelp. He then pointed the camera down to his calf, where there were 2 small dots of blood. Looking at the video, pouting at the snake, it looks as if nothing is there. Yeah, that was why Johnson didn't notice till he was bitten, because the snake was perfectly camouflaged. He quickly called to a nearby hiker for help, and fortunately, the snake didn't release any venom to him yet. According to experts, if the snake released its venom, the pain would be excruciating. Well, if it's so important for you to always walk in the woods, make sure you glance down at your feet now and then. You don't know what may be hiding, waiting for you to celebrate its find with a shout. Have you ever experienced a snake? Tell us about your experience in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.